Hello everyone, my name is Nilsor and welcome to my vault. Today on Fallout New Vegas 101 we are going to talk about the history of the Brotherhood of Steel. The first Brotherhood originated on the west coast of what once was the United States of America. Their primary idea was to collect every piece of pre-war technology, especially if it has a military use, and keep it away from wastelanders that are judged not capable of properly using them. The idea was to keep these technologies inside the Brotherhood until the world became ready. Then its members would come back to the surface and restore the Earth, spreading technology one bit at a time to those that are deemed responsible enough to use it. This idea led to an acute isolationism, with new members coming only from within, with very rare exceptions and only if they were humans. Technology was perceived more valuable than human life, and with little regard for soft science such as history. The Brotherhood of Steel is one of the most ancient groups in the Wasteland, since it was formed shortly after the Great War in 2277. The more time passed, the more their belief system had radicalized. It evolved from a survivalist group to a semi-religious organization by deifying their founder and perceiving their guidance rulebook, named the Codex, as a holy text possessing the force of law. This led the Brotherhood to become not just isolationist but also xenophobic. Utility technologies are discarded and military ones are stockpiled and maintained. Experiencing with it is perceived unorthodox. The Brotherhood's main goal evolved from restoring the Earth to be the last ones to survive until everyone else dies, then take over the wasteland for themselves. Throughout its history, the Brotherhood sent expeditions into the wasteland to collect new technologies, with some groups settling into new installations called chapters. Sometimes those groups parted themselves from the authority of the original Brotherhood of Steel on the west coast. The Midwestern Brotherhood of Steel had a more expansionist mind than the original one. They've recruited from the outside and accepted ghouls, even super mutants, within their ranks. On the East Coast, the Brotherhood of Steel occupied the capital wasteland. There they developed a more altruistic ideology, with their primary focus set on helping others by protecting them from menace such as super mutants and the Enclave, putting the mission of finding new technology on a low priority. The story of the Brotherhood of Steel started back in 2076. At the time, its future founder, Roger Maxson, was sent to a West Tech facility under the orders of Colonel Robert Spindle. They were to protect the scientists there against the ever-growing Chinese menace. The research team was to find a cure for the new plague, at least officially. On January 7, 2077, everyone was transferred to the newly constructed Mariposa military base in order to increase security. Later that year, on October 10th, the troops discovered that the scientists were testing on unwilling human subjects prisoners of war, what will later be known as the FEV. As a result, the morale plummeted quickly. On October 15th, Colonel Spindle suffered a mental breakdown and killed himself. Now in charge, Roger Maxson interrogated Robert Henderson, the chief scientist of West Tech, to know everything about the horrors of these experiments. He was then, along with most of his research team, executed for their crimes against humanity. On October 20th, Roger Maxson radioed to the US Army that he and his men were deserting. No response came back, and for a good reason. On October 23rd, the Great War occurred. The Mariposa military base safety protocols protected Maxson and his troops, all the while some leaking vats of FEV were accidentally released into the wasteland. On October 25th, the surrounding areas were scouted by Soldier Plattner, who found no significant trace of radiation. On October 27th, Maxson and his men sailed off the base, then wandered into the wasteland to a government fallout shelter at Lost Hills. On the way, they managed to connect with survivors, including Maxson's wife and son. During the journey, raiders attacked the group. Soldiers equipped with power armor repelled them, but some civilian casualties occurred, including Maxson's wife. On the way, a small number of soldiers separated themselves from the group. Led by Sergeant Dennis Allen, they wanted to explore what was left of the West Tech facility in order to find useful technologies. Against orders, they departed, never to be heard from again. During November, the group arrived at the Lost Hills bunker and settled there, with expansion and adaptation of the facility made to fit their own needs. This journey took later on the name of the Exodus. It was then that Maxon named his organization the Brotherhood of Steel, appointed himself High Elder, and sought to help rebuild civilization no matter the cost. Little is known of what happens for several decades afterwards. In 2135, Roger Maxon died of cancer. His son, Roger Maxon Jr., known as Maxon II, became High Elder in his place. In 2155, during a squad exercise led by Maxon II, fights with the local raider gang named the Vipers occurred. The High Elder believed that these savages would flee when they saw the power-armored soldiers. They didn't. With a poisonous arrow, they hit Maxon II while he had his helmet off, killing him a few hours later. His 58-year-old son, John Maxon, then took the role of High Elder. Rhombus, the new head paladin, launched a full-scale campaign in reprisal against the Vipers, nearly exterminating them. On their search for remaining Vipers, they came in contact with the town of the Hub that started full trade relations between them instead of the occasional ones already occurring. In 2161, a patrol stumbled upon the corpse of a super mutant, which was brought to High Scribvery for examination. She found out that this creature was sterile and was created from a specific place. More scouts were sent out to inquire about it, with reports coming back of fights occurring against groups of more than 20 super mutants. The Brotherhood became suspicious that the army was massing in the northern mountains, but the Elder Council was indecisive as to how to act. In 2162, during the events of Fallout 1, the Vault Dweller was sent by the Brotherhood on a mission to recover the holodisc from the long-lost expedition of Dennis Allen in the Westlake facility, now known as the Glow. He succeeded despite the odds and became member of the Brotherhood, the first outsider accepted since decades. After the informations given to him about the super mutants, the Vault Dweller convinced the Brotherhood into helping him destroy the Master and his army of super mutants that he was creating from FEV VATs at the old Mariposa military base. By the end of this successful campaign, the Brotherhood of Steel was the most powerful and technologically advanced group in the core regions. Good relationship grown with the rising New California Republic that later on named one of its states Maxon in honor of the Brotherhood's founder. Also, in the aftermath of fighting the Master, some members started emphasizing the need for new members within the Brotherhood by allowing to recruit from the outside. The Elder Council voted against it. Not long after, several airships were built and the members that were in favor of recruiting outsiders were sent on it on a mission to the east to track down and assess the extent of the remaining super mutant threat. Unfortunately, while they were in what used to be the region of Chicago, a violent storm broke out and made the airships crash. From there, the surviving soldiers built a new organization that is called the Midwestern Brotherhood of Steel. As of 2197, this faction managed to recruit new members, expanded its territories by helping and enlisting local people. Although more open than in the West, this faction is not altruistic and maintains an atmosphere of fear over the territories it controls with scary intelligent soldiers known as the Inquisitors. During Fallout Tactics in 2198, a new recruited tribal known as the Warrior helped the Brotherhood into defeating a mad AI known as the Calculator that was bent on destroying every living thing. In the aftermath, the Midwesterners managed to strengthen their position and control over the region. But as of 2277, this faction seems to have fallen out of grace, as only a small detachment in Chicago is known to still exist. They've managed to renew contact with the West, but didn't recognize its authority, making them a rogue faction with no help coming from the rest of the Brotherhood. Back west, during the second half of the 22nd century, the NCR's expansion rose tension while remaining peaceful. Territories outside of Lost Hills became under NCR regulation, but the bunker itself remained under the sole authority of the Brotherhood. In 2208, some members went missing while on a mission to fight technology in Texas. Tasked to fast them back, a small group was sent there to investigate. They stumbled upon the remnants of the Master's army led by the super mutants Attis. After having dealt with him, and with it what was left of the threat from the Master's army scraps, the group was disbanded and returned west. During the first half of the 23rd century, the Brotherhood of Steel grew stagnant as it saw itself as the only source of advanced technology left to humanity. The result of this stagnation was a waning of their power, while other groups like the NCR were thriving. It was at that time, after Jeremy Maxon took the role of High Elder in 2231, that the Brotherhood became more aggressive into finding technologies, with less and less restraint into wresting it from what they considered lesser people. In 2240, the Enclave, a faction descending from the remnants of the United States government that took refuge during the Great War in underground facilities of their own, became known to the Brotherhood with surprisingly superior technology. Unable to deal with them, the faction reactivated small outposts to scout and watch as this new menace grew bigger and bigger. During the events of Fallout 2 in 2242, the Chosen One managed to destroy the Enclave base of operation, with its survivors being tracked down by the LCR army. The Brotherhood continued its search for technology and sent new expeditions to the east. One founded the Mojave chapter, under the leadership of Father Elijah, and another one, after failing to reconnect with the Midwestern, settled in the capital Westland. In 2255, near the ruins of what was Washington, the Brotherhood expedition, led by Elder Lyons, established their base of operation inside the decrepit Pentagon and renamed it the Citadel. Under Lyons' guidance, this chapter gradually shifted their goals and were more inclined to help the locals and recruiting them to fill their ranks than searching out for new technology. These new policies didn't please the Council in the West that, while still recognizing them as part of the Brotherhood, decided to no longer support the Capital Westland chapter with supplies or troops and seized all communications. It was at that time that a small group detached itself from Lyons, as they were still aiming to fulfill the original goal of the Brotherhood and were later on called Outcasts. In that moment of weakness, the Enclave made a comeback from their base near the capital where they were hiding since their defeat in the west. With the help of the Lone Wanderer during the events of Fallout 3 in 2277, the Brotherhood defeated once again the Enclave and grew stronger in power, becoming what might actually be the strongest faction in the Wasteland. But back west, shortly after the Enclave's defeat in Fallout 2, an all-out war between the Brotherhood of Steel and the LCR broke out because of the strong disagreement the two factions had regarding the sharing of technology. During the first early years of war, the Brotherhood was winning thanks to its higher technology and training. But through the sheer number of its troops, the NCR managed to push back to the point that the Brotherhood had to retreat and hide inside their bunkers. But before that, a fatal blow was struck to the NCR economy by destroying their gold reserves. Since the NCR dollar was a gold-based currency, its destruction plummeted its value, making the use of bottle caps a safer currency. In 2276 occurred one of the most known battles of the war, called Operation Sunburst. It took place in the Mojave at the solar power plant of Helios 1. There, the local chapter, led by Father Elijah, was occupying the facility in order to find out about a pre-war secret weapon. The NCR, aware of the Brotherhood presence, laid siege to the facility. They held their ground for a while, but when the NCR attacked in several outnumbering waves, the Brotherhood lost half of its force. Father Elijah then disappeared, leaving the command to the head paladin Nolan McNamara, making him the de facto new elder and leader of the chapter. He led his troops into full retreat inside their bunker in Hidden Valley, and has ordered a full lockdown of the facility. Being protected by a storm generator which prevents detection, the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel has since been dormant, with only few supply runs allowed. As of 2281, the West Coast Brotherhood is in a predicament situation, with most of its bunker into lockdown or having been overrun by NCR troops. It is rumored that an internal conflict and possible civil war is ongoing, which might explain why it remains unclear who is the current High Elder, with the only descendant of the Maxon's family being Arthur Maxon, who is being educated inside the Citadel. The Midwestern Brotherhood seems to have been reduced to only a little encampment. The only power the Brotherhood of Steel has retained seems to be the, cut from the others, Capital Wasteland chapter. Unable to change and adapt its original philosophy to an evolving environment, the Western Brotherhood seems to have let itself into a dead end as for their future in the world. The Brotherhood of Steel is well known for its iconic use of power armors and energy weapons. It organized itself by keeping its military roots with new ranks imagined to fit their needs. In its original organization that came from the West, the High Elder is the leader of the entire Brotherhood of Steel and is usually someone from the Maxon family. Then are the Elders, some of the faction's oldest members, who form the ruling council at Lost Hills. They can individually be given the responsibility of localized chapter. Usually they are former paladins, but there can be some exceptions, like for Elder Elijah, who was a scribe. The general is commanding all of the Brotherhood army and takes its orders only from the High Elder and Elder Council. Below are the Head Paladin, Head Knight and Head Scribe, each one in charge of their respective caste. The Paladins are in charge of all security and outside activities. Only a Head Knight can be promoted to become a Junior Paladin. The Knights have the role of maintaining strategical advancing in the battlefield and support other soldiers. And the Scribe caste is responsible for copying the ancient technology, maintaining the current ones, and even experimenting with new weapons and other useful devices to be used on the field by the Knights and the Paladins. The lowest ranks is composed of initiates that are slated to become either scribes or knights after completing their initial training. To ensure the organization's cohesion, every member is bounded by the chain that binds rule that stipulates that an order from a superior must be given only to their direct subordinates without skipping ranks. An elder can't order directly a knight, he or she must order the head knight to proceed the orders. The Midwest Brotherhood modified some of its ranks to better suit their expansionist vision. There, scribes are both scientists and engineers, doing what scribes and knights do in the West. The organization is divided between civilian and military, which counts numerous new ranks with the addition of two special ones. The Inquisitors, that are the soldiers responsible of law enforcement, interrogation, and intelligence with little restraint from the Brotherhood Code, and the Auditor General, who yields great authority, collect and process tribute given to the Brotherhood by villages in its sphere of influence. The Commanding Officer rank is the military leader of the chapter, and the Elder remains the leader and thinker of all decisions within the organization. In the Capital Wasteland, some differences have been made compared to the original. Their Paladin is a rank, not a separate caste. They are squad leaders, whereas the Knight Sergeant commands large groups or base. The Head Paladin has been renamed Star Paladin, and the Scribes are responsible for researching and manufacturing technology, weapons and armor. They are split into three orders. The Order of the Sword is researching military offensive technology, the Order of the Shield is focusing on military defense, and the Order of the Quill is researching utility technologies. Each order is led by a proctor who consults the head scribe and elder on certain issues. Finally, the Brotherhood of Steel's insignia has two main interpretations. The first one is that the gear represents the engineering knowledge, the sword their will to defend themselves, the wings are the uplifting hopes that the acquisition of lost technology represents for mankind's salvation, and the circle emphasizes the fraternal unity of the Brotherhood. The second interpretation is that each element represents the different orders. The sword is for the paladins, the wings are for the elders, controlling the movement of the sword, the large gear is for the knights, and the two smaller gears are for the scribes and initiates whose services keep the knights supplied with the information and the manpower required to get their jobs done. On the next video, we are going to visit the Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel in Hidden Valley. Thank you for watching and see you later.